I've seen a lot of change, been through a lot of pain. Some things are not the same as they were a year ago, but all will be okay. I move on each and every day. The past is where it stays, way back a year ago.
Hello everybody, Dave here from Dave Gets Shafted, or Dave Gets Wood, or any of the names I've been calling myself. Been doing the grips on the clubs. We've got one left to do. This is the sand wedge, and interestingly, excuse me, I didn't struggle getting any of the grips off except for the last club that I did, which was the pitch wedge. Now I don't know whether the grip tape didn't come down as far or because it was a much more used club, but the grip just did not want to come off easily. I mean, to put it into perspective, okay, so this was one of the first ones that I did. Got a nice cut, and it peeled off very nicely. Compare that to this, you can see it better. This just crumbled in bits. So every time I tried to pull it, to peel it off, it just broke a little bit off, and I mean, there's rubber everywhere here. Down there is quite a pile of dust, which has come off a lot of the grips actually. So for this one, for example, this one peeled off okay, but I don't know if you can see how bad it is. Basically, it was flaking off and crumbling off the top, but thankfully came off okay. So anyway, right, so we're down to the last one, and I wouldn't be surprised if this one could be a bit awkward as well. It depends. With it being the sand wedge, it is possible that it hasn't been used as much as the pitch wedge, because people are probably in the bunker less than they are in a position to use a pitch wedge. But you never know, we shall find out. So getting the grips off has been okay. And like I said, apart from that last one, getting the grips on hasn't been too bad. A couple of them have been quite tough as we got down to the shorter shafts. It seems to have been a bit more difficult. So I think it may be a case of needed to apply more solution. Once I started doing that, it wasn't going too bad. Now, interestingly, this grip, as I'm cutting it, isn't cracking and fracturing like the pitch wedge did, or like a few of the others did. It has actually sort of cut through it quite cleanly, so we can hope that it might peel off properly, but I don't think, I've got a feeling it won't, because I think, I don't know, well, I would guess that these are the original grips from these clubs. I don't know how old they are, and I think they, whereas I've used the same length grip tape on each shaft, with the original ones, they seem to be using shorter and shorter, so they've been leaving about an inch and a half at the bottom with no tape, but that seems to have been getting a bigger and bigger gap, which is why I also think I struggled to get it off. Okay, so this one, they've only gone for just under a couple of centimetres of where there's no grip tape, so that might be why this one is going to come off a bit easier, hopefully. edge, but now it is starting to flake a bit. It's not going all the way through, it's just the surface, which is flaking. Okay. Come on. Don't be a bugger now. Right at the end. Now, I must admit, I don't know whether the process is exactly the same for a graphite shaft or a fiberglass shaft. I don't know. Not that I'm necessarily looking at trying to do a graphite or fiberglass shaft, because I'm not. But the process may be the same. But one thing I am going to want to do as well at some point is put a new grip on a putter. Not necessarily because the other grips are warm. I'm just getting the making sure. See, one of the clubs, unfortunately, I checked the end for the sticky bit of paper, didn't see anything. So I put the grip on, and then when I finished and I moved it, I heard something go ding 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 ding, and I think it was the bit of paper inside. Now I'm hoping it's going to get lodged somewhere and stick. If it doesn't, and it does me head in, then I'm going to have to remove it and replace the grip. So I did check with the ones I did after that. I think it was the 7 iron. So I did do them in number order. But I think it was the 7 iron that I could hear it. Now one of the things I'm doing as well is I'm not leaving these in this room to dry because the temperature, I've got the temperature set a little bit colder in here. To be honest, the heating is only on in here just to sort of keep a decent baseline temperature. It's not heated, so to speak. I think 16 degrees I set it to. Now because I'm in here at the moment, it is actually a little bit higher than that, but yeah, because the glue needs to dry, I want it in a warmer environment, so I am storing these in my living room while they dry, and hopefully within a day they should be perfectly cured. I mean, to be honest, it says it's dry within 2 hours, and I believe that, but there's no harm in leaving them for a couple of days, and then we'll find out if the grips are going to come off. Okay. Well, one of the reasons that I'm doing this as well is because it kind of goes with my series of things that I've been doing, to bringing knackered looking things back to life. I've been doing it with the furniture, which I'm still doing. I'm trying to get my dining table finished, so got that. But also I thought, why not see if I can make golf clubs look better. So like the heads of these, I'll do those up. I could do with finding out what paint I would need to use on them, because there are some bits that I would like to reapply the paint, but also I know there is equipment in my dad's workshop that is not being used that would allow me to sort of clean up club heads and polish them up, get them shining again and clear the grooves in, and have that work a lot easier. I am going to try a Dremel at some point, but not on these clubs yet. I'm going to try that on one of the other clubs, an older scrap one I've got. And then, because with using the Dremel, I don't want to use the Dremel with a sandpaper bit on it, because it will just cut through the metal, and I don't want to cut through the metal. I want to skim the metal basically. I want to take a very thin layer off it, rather than potentially gouge into it. So finding the right bit to use, it could be a nylon brush tip, it could be brass wire or copper wire tip, like copper brush or brass brush, whatever it is. That might work to clean it up better. And to be honest, I don't know a lot about polishing metals, so it's a new area for me. But why not have a look? Because, well, a couple of things. Obviously, I've been going on this sort of little journey with things like this to, as I said, bring scrap things back to life, like did me. And at the same time, I'm learning skills in my own time at different times of the day. I'm not pressured, so I'm learning new skills, and I don't know, maybe there's a hope that if something I do, something clicks and it's like, actually, you know what, maybe this is something I could look at as doing as a career, for example. So even something as simple as this, re-gripping golf clubs, I don't know, maybe there is a bit of a market out there for that. Would I want to do it professionally? I've no idea. I've never done it before we've done these. But I know a few people that play golf, and once they find out I've done these, if they've got any that will want re-gripping, chances are they're either going to ask me how it's done and they'll do it themselves, or they'll ask me to do it for them. And if they ask me to do it for them, obviously I would have to charge them. Partially because the grips aren't cheap. I mean, you can get silly expensive with grips. I personally didn't see the point, and I forgot to do something again, so I've been talking. I did this on the last one. Yeah, so, I mean, these aren't cheap, but if I'd have bought them individually, it gets more expensive. Now, the grip I want to put on a putter it's a different style of grip, so much bigger. So that's something I'll look into separately. And another reason for this is a bit like with the woodworking. I've been able to pick up things on, say, Facebook Marketplace, pick up things for free, like furniture for free, and I've been able to do some of it up. And to be honest, I've done it simply for my own interest and as part of my new hobby. Come on, squirty. But it's one of those things, if you can pick things up cheap enough, do a bit of a repair on them, and then sell them and make a profit, then it's not necessarily a business, but it's a way of making some money. So the thing is, for all I know, I think when it comes to golf, there's people out there that they want the newest stuff each time it comes out, and there'll be people that like what they've got and want to keep it. But if what they've got is looking a bit old and knackered, they might just want it to be refreshed. And I tell you what, I put more solution on this one, and it went on considerably easier than the last few. Although I did have one where the hole in the end of the grip was blocked, so trying to get that on was a nightmare until I realised that it was not letting the air through. But I mean, sort of as a sort of bit of a hobby as well. I mean, this is something that it's something that can be done that doesn't make a lot of noise. It could be done at sort of any time of the day, really, or night. Is what I was sort of getting at there. And for me, that's one of the things that I kind of need, is that flexibility to, like, if I have bad days and I'm asleep all day, or I'm laid up in bed all day, but then I'm up all night, I can't go sanding or using power tools at night, can I? I could, but that'd be so unfair on neighbours. Talking neighbours, it's been cancelled. Right. Now you may have seen me grab this basically on the previous video. Basically I'm just checking the bits of the grip lining up, so making sure that it's all straight. And then knocking the end, getting the excess solution out, but also to make sure that the grip is all the way on. Now admittedly that bit does make noise, but I think if I did this more, I would be, well, let's put it this way, I've probably not even used half a bottle of this, so I probably could have used a hell of a lot more on each of the clubs. Right, check the alignment. Ooh, we're off. Okay. Okay, so the bottom bit is right, so the rest just needs popping around a bit, popping back a bit. Need a bit more. Doesn't need much, this. I'm happy with that. I mean, okay, I'm eyeballing it, but how else am I going to do it? I ain't getting a fucking ruler out. Okay, so that is those irons done, completed. So let's have a quick little sort of tidy up. So how did that go? Well, I was actually concerned that it may be a very difficult awkward thing to do. And I'm glad that it wasn't. I think on the plus side though, this particular set of irons, apart from one club, it was easy to get the grips off, and I think that's what made the difference. When I've taken the grips off, they've left the shafts pretty clean, and I've not had to go scraping anything off the shafts before I can reapply the grips. Other clubs may be very different in that scenario, but at least now I wouldn't fear the process. That's for certain. So yeah, I'm very pleased with how that's gone. I think the full result of how it has gone will be seen if the handles come flying off, or should I say, someone swings the club and the shaft goes further than the ball while the grip is still in the player's hand. But I'm glad I did. I'm glad I did it. I could easily have not bothered, but I'm glad that I did. Especially sort of seeing how these have coped with being taken off. See, this was the first one that I took off, and this still feels fairly flexible. I mean, that potentially could have been alright to stay on, but it would have looked out of place. But like I say, I mean, you compare that to this. I mean, you look at the cut. If you can see, you look at the cut on that, nice straight, no flaking. Like I say, it's still flexible with nothing peeling off. Compare that to this, and that is not a nice cut. It is sort of fractured and peeling all the way up. Is it flexible? No, it's just folded over. Yeah, so it's not good. I mean, so I'm glad that I've done that. And I would say, I mean, for anyone that is out there that plays golf that wants their clubs re-gripping, let me know. Or don't be afraid of doing it yourself. I got the grips, the kit to do it on Amazon. So yeah, I'm pleased with how that's gone. So as far as this current series goes of Dave Gets Shafted, there will be some more videos coming. One of them will be to say whether the grips have stayed on. Another will be hopefully showing doing up the club heads and the shafts, because if I show you with these, what I intend on doing with all of the clubs that we've just done is take these labels off, because they're looking a bit knackered and tatty now, so might as well get rid of them. They should hopefully come off fairly easily, especially with the alcohol, rubbing alcohol. The shafts themselves quite often can look a bit sort of dirty and pitted and look like they've got some rust spots. A couple of ways you can deal with that. One is just rub them down with some wire wool, which can actually leave quite a nice sort of duller finish, but it's more sort of all one tone. So we've got the shafts to clean up, and then obviously the heads. And when I was talking about the paint, it's so like throwing where the number is and the writing is, stuff like that. Because I think that would make a nice difference. I haven't decided yet how much of this back bit I'm going to try and clean up, because part of me wants to leave the cut out the grey, but we'll see what happens, because basically if there's one of them that's got some of it worn away in there, there's no point. If I've got to clean that one off, then there's no point keeping the others. But because it is indented, it may be possible that none have been affected, so we can get it cleaned up. But also, with the clubs that have been used more, you can see sort of going from here to here, we have a line, so above there is darker, down there is lighter. Basically that's just where people have played with these clubs, and it's worn away the black, and you can see that that's where they've been hitting the ball more than anywhere else. So we're going to take all of this black off there as well, and then we'll get this polished up so it should be a nice shiny silver, and should look pretty good. I've got the tool for re-grooving, cutting or recutting the grooves. These have paint in the grooves, which I don't know if I would want to replace that, but the bottom two have red paint and the rest are white. It'd be a ball ache to paint it, because there's what, 5, 10, there's about 20 grooves on each club, and there's what, 9 clubs, so it's a bit under 200 grooves to paint. No thanks. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see how that looks. Now, when it comes to actually working on those parts of the clubs, that is a little bit more time consuming than doing the grips. So whereas with the grips I've been able to pretty much get all of the irons done, that's not going to be the case when doing the heads. It'll be taking one club and just sticking with that until it's done. It will take a while, because obviously it's got to be cleaned off and polished, re-grooved and all that kind of stuff. Okay, I said about the stuff on the floor. There you go, you might not see much of it, but yeah, that's just stuff that flaked off the grips. So there we go. Right, I'm buggered, I'm done. Have a good one. We'll see you all again soon. And we'll see what gets shafted next. See you in a bit.